It's an honor for me to be here. It's my first time with you. I just want to talk about practical change management. And I want to start with this illustration. It was a beautiful summer Saturday afternoon. It was gorgeous blue sky. It was warm. It was quintessential. It was a Little League baseball game. Mark and I were coaching, and it was my daughter's and his daughter's baseball team against another team. And you'd think, wow, what a great way to spend an afternoon. Well, it really wasn't, because it was a lopsided affair. The other team wasn't that good. The score stood at 10-0 after 2 innings. We'd already mercied them in the first 2 innings. And the next inning, the third inning, a little girl came out to pitch, and she was terrible. Every ball was going everywhere except the strike zone. She was really struggling. I felt bad for her. Quickly, she filled our bases with runners, and I said, this is going to be another mercy inning. And I said, I can't do this. So I grabbed my next 3 batters, and I pulled them aside and said, we are in zero danger of losing this game. We're going to be fine. But we're going to get this little girl out of this inning. Even if the ball rolls to you, I want you to swing. And they said, really? I said, I want to do this. We're going to learn how to be good sports today. So what happened was that every time the ball rolled or went over their head, they swung, and the umpire would call strike, and the little girl would be thrilled. And she got out of the inning, and she bounded back to her dugout. And I looked at the coach. He was sitting on their bench, and he was used to teaching a rep hockey team. And the trouble with rep hockey teams is that you often get all the best players from a bunch of teams, but they've been coached by someone else. And all you have to do is tell them what to do. And he was trying to employ the same strategy with these girls, and it wasn't working. So their team came up for their half of the inning, and they didn't score a run. Why? Well, we were pretty good. Everything I had learned from coaching my son's baseball team, I taught our girls. So we won most of our games. So they didn't score, so it scored still 10-0. The same little girl comes out for the 4th inning, and I felt terrible. They were just going everywhere. Her pitches weren't even remotely close to the strike zone. And I said, I can't do this anymore. But as she came out, the coach was very helpful. He goes, throw strikes. That's pretty helpful, right? Oh yeah, that's amazing leadership. And so she came out, and I just couldn't do it anymore. I stood there, and I called for time. Umpire gave me time. I walked a couple paces, but I realized I had to ask permission. So I looked at this coach who was disinterested. He was sitting on the bench like a player instead of coaching. And I said, would you mind if I talk to your player? And he goes, sure, why not? So I walked up to her, and I said, hi, my name's Keith. I'm the coach from your team. I have a question for you. Has anybody ever showed you how to pitch? And she shook her head. She started to cry. She was so sweet. But I said, would you like to learn how right now? I can show you. It's easy. Would you like to do that? And she nodded up and down. She said a big smile. And you know what? But I see change management moving in that direction. It's the area that I spent my life on, and it's moving in the wrong direction. It's moving to throw strikes, where we put up PowerPoint slides and posters, and we figure we're done. And that's not how change happens. I hope today to not enthrall you, but to equip you. My goal today is to change forever your view of change management, because it can be different. I'm not presenting my opinion. I've done research with 72 organizations for 3 years, and then implemented those strategies successfully for 20 years. I'm going to bring all that to you today as best as I can. And the neat thing is, we talked a little about delegation earlier, and all the things I'm talking about can be implemented by very busy executives with big teams, with even low, high performers. It doesn't matter. You can do this. But I'd like your help today. I'd like to we're going to work through some things as we're going to pause and work through the changes that you're working through. So I'd like to have a cooperative session if we can. So when I ask for some suggestions or offer, please join me, will you? Help me make this, let me tune this to what you're facing and what you're struggling with. Okay? Why is change management important? Well, it's critical for 2 things, 2 entities. One, your organization. Here's a comparison of a McKinsey study between poor change management and comprehensive change management. The difference is stark. Poor change management, the return on investment for those projects was average 35%. The change management, the comprehensive one, 143%. The finance people in your room will tell you that's 108% difference, right? That's more than the cost of the investment of the entire project. If we do it right. The other person, the other entity that this can tremendously affect is you. Here, I love this quote from the Kavanaugh study. Individuals and their perception of the manner in which change is being managed will often determine not only how a leader will be regarded, but who will be regarded as a leader. My goal today is to equip you to be a better leader today. So we're going to start, we're going to break in a few minutes. I'm going to have you get a pen and a paper and write down your change, the one that you want to see or that you'd like to see or you're committed to seeing. And then I have a few things about that. We're going to start right away about your change, and we're going to do a little bit of feedback, and then I'm going to work through. I'm going to give you a change management toolkit that is amazing. And it's so simple, you can pass it on. I guarantee you learn it today in a few minutes. You can start to apply it Monday and teach it to somebody on Tuesday. The next thing I'm going to do is we're going to go underneath the surface of organizations. I'm going to show you some of the settings that are actually happening that we don't talk about, how organizations actually work and how you drive change. I'm going to show you what the internal mechanisms are so you'll understand why this is different. Then we're going to talk about an instructive way to build change that's sustainable. And then finally we're going to talk about what's the thought process you can use to start to apply this where you are. And then finally, if I'm doing really well, we'll have some time for some questions at the end, and we'll have a great time. Are we okay with that? All right, let's go. So I want to grab your piece of paper in front of you. I want you to write down the first and second thing. First thing, what's the change that you want to make this year? What's the change you're committed to or you'd like to commit to? That's the title at the top. Right below that, I want you to write what would be, if that was underway and you were making progress toward that, what would be the visible attribute? What would be the sign that that is occurring? Go ahead. You got 2 minutes.